This is a Lion Pond Beats production. This is a Lion Pond Beats production. This is a Lion Pond Beats production. This is a Lion Pond Beats production.
Signal 27 Show.
The best live stream podcast in the city.
What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing? This is the Signal 27 Show. We are in the community this week with a good friend of mine for a long time right now. You know what I'm saying? We occasionally see each other, but my man is in a completely different realm of what we got going on here at the studio. So if you all are watching, please like, comment, and share the video because we have something special that's going on in the community this week. Before we get started, I want to make sure that all of y'all can always go boom in the chat room. If you have any questions, any concerns, let us know. Put it in the chat. We just might actually say something about it. You know what I mean? Okay. So for all of y'all that don't know, this week we have Steven Monzon that's in the studio with us today from the Watch Trader Company. Okay. And so the watches and things that he's going to be talking about this week is going to be some of the most beautiful and luxury watches that you can get on the market today. But I want to know, first and foremost, how did you even get started? Well, introduce yourself first. How did you get started?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure. I mean, thanks for having me on the show. This is fantastic, and I love to talk about watches and stuff like that. So, but yeah, ultimately, I first got into this about a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. So, we've worked together, mm-hmm. for Fortune 100 company and stuff like that, and quite frankly, I started right around 2020, right before kind of COVID hit and stuff like that. I was just looking for investment. I was just trying to figure out kind of a side hustle. Mm-hmm. And so initially I was looking to buy an exotic car. And so I stumbled upon, after how they have the Facebook algorithms and stuff like that, some little course popped up on my Facebook ad that says hey, it's exotic car hacks. And I was like, oh, well, I need to know how to buy an exotic car and stuff like that. So I was like, why not? So I ended up purchasing. It was only $150 or $200 a course. So I figured, that's a good investment just for me to learn. Mm-hmm. And so long story short, I took that course, and then I just kind of fell in love with the person that does the course, which is, his name is Pejman Gadimi, PJ for short.
Hold on, what's in it? Because you said it so fast. Pejman Gadimi.
Pejman Gadimi.
Pejman Gadimi.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So, short for PJ. So anyways, long story short, again, he introduced me to kind of his watch courses as well. And then I said, why not? It looked, I'm a very logical and analytical person. So it made sense from the numbers, how everything worked. So I said, well, let's try it and see what happens. Because I've always liked watches in general. And, I to be honest with you, I like luxury things for the most part as well. So it kind of fit into the realm of what I like. So it made sense. And then it just started from there, man. And the next thing you know, I'm buying $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 watches, and it gets a little crazy.
Yeah, I can tell. You know what I mean? For all of y'all that don't know, my man is in a completely different tax bracket than than what we are. But to be able to have the language to be able to speak things to individuals, as far as having them look into and purchase luxury items for themselves, it goes a long way for how you are as a person. So as far as getting started and getting the individual started, how does this work, from beginning to end? Give me a quick process. If you was gonna get me to purchase one of the watches, what would be your first opening thing to say to me?
Well, I think when I talk to clients and stuff like that, or people that are interested in buying watches, I always say listen, what's the intent, right? Because ultimately, there's three ways of looking at watches, and then two are the most popular, right? One is because I really want to wear it. Mm-hmm. I just want to wear it. I don't care. I have the money. I want to use it, right? And so those are people that literally just, they can drop 20, 30,000 or whatever, and they don't care because they make that type of money, and they're fortunate enough to be able to do that. So that's one class of people. Then you have you have other people that they think a little bit more financially, mm-hmm. and they're like, you know what, I'd rather park my money somewhere. I want to fight inflation. I don't want to deal with inflation, and the bank is not giving me any type of return. Stocks is too volatile, so they're like, I just want to park my money somewhere and be safe and enjoy the asset. And because that's what it is. A lot of people don't understand is a lot of people see people that buy the exotic cars or the crazy Rolexes and the watches, the Richard Milles and Patek's and all that stuff, right? People spending 200, 300,000, but it's not really like people are just floundering the money because they don't care. It's actually because they're parking their money and keeping it safe, and a lot of the times those assets are appreciating. So
Makes sense.
So then you have and then that jumps into the investment strategy, which is, and a lot of people that really do understand how the watch world works, especially the luxury goods work, because not only watches, exotic cars is into the mix. You got art, you got like the Chanel bags, the Louis Vuitton bags and stuff like that. There's a reason why there's a line at Louis Vuitton stores every Saturday and when things drop. And it's because of that, because like people understand that there's a value to it and like you don't lose money on it. So and to give you a perfect example, like not to give shade to the people that buy like the Michael Kors or the what's the other one? Not Gucci. It's the other normal kind of higher end luxury brands of purses,
like
right?
Doobie and Burke.
Yeah,
I think
so
that's
those type, right? You're spending like $400, $500, right, on those type of purses. And what I explain to people, I'm like, the moment you buy that, you lose money. Like it's done. Like even if you try to resell it, you've lost at least 50% of your money, right? So if you lost $250, $300 right away, but you go up and you're like, okay, well, let me buy a Chanel bag that costs $5,000, right? Now again, you have to get to that level where you feel comfortable spending $5,000. But if you are able to spend $5,000 and you understand that in a year from now, if you take care of it, you enjoy it, you wear it, and everything like that, in a year from now, you can sell that for probably $4,700, $4,800, $4,500. So it's only depreciated the $300, $500 that you would have already wasted anyways from a Michael Kors. So the mentality is more of like wealth transfer, wealth preservation, rather than understanding that, again, like your mentality is like, oh, I'm going to buy that purse, but I know that I'm going to lose X amount of dollars already right away. It's like almost buying a car, same way. You buy a car, you automatically in yourself, conventionally, you understand that you're losing 20, 30% out the door.
And that's funny because I never really looked at it like that. You know what I mean? So for an example, because Gucci and what is it, Louis, they have seasons where that particular bag you can't get it.
You can't get it no more. Exactly.
So you pay $5,000 for a bag, you wear the bag, but now the bag becomes an asset. It becomes an asset, but it becomes one of those things where you can't get it no more. It's kind of like comic books too, right?
Exactly.
Like when you get a comic book, it might be $3-4, but if you don't get the first edition, and they might come out with it again, but the first edition is the one that costs the most.
Exactly. It's very similar logic, yeah. And so like I said, it's the process of understanding that like sometimes it's not about how cheap you can get an item, but rather what's going to happen to the item after you have it for X amount of time.
Right.
And so, again, perfect examples with the exotic cars and stuff like that. Again, conventionally, you will buy a brand new Honda Civic, right away that you're going to lose probably 25, 30% out the door once you drive it, right? But when you buy a used 2014 Lamborghini Gallardo, right, you're not losing money because it's already plateaued. Now, a lot of people don't understand is that like there's a reason why those cars are still 2014s or 2012s, 2011s are selling, the exotic cars are selling for 100, 150, 200,000. And there's a reason, because they don't depreciate. That there's a level of depreciation, right? That when you first buy brand new, of course, it's going to go down, but then it plateaus, but a regular car just goes straight down.
It goes straight down, and it continues to.
And it continues to go down. But the exotic cars, even the high-end luxury cars, Mercedes and Audis and stuff like that, they tend to have like a linear line like that. It goes up and down, but you're always going to be remaining the same. So if you can if you can spend $1,500 a month, and then in a year sell the car and say, hey, I only lost, in theory, $1,000 for the whole year. You got to drive, a $200,000 car for $1,000. And if you divide that by 12, it's like what, $75, $80 a month, right? And what's your normal Honda Civic Honda Civic payment? It's like $300, $350, $400 a month.
So it makes you. It's crazy how it's like now you think about it. It's you end up paying less, getting a more luxury.
And more luxury good, yeah, and you get to enjoy it. I mean, and it's not for everyone. And I tell people, I'm like, listen, like it doesn't. If you don't like cars, then don't do it because you don't like cars. If you don't like watches, don't do it because you don't like watches. But a lot of people like it, and if you like it, then take advantage of the process. Take advantage of how to play the system. And the same thing with watches, right? People, I spent $28,000 on his watch, but I know right away I can literally sell it for $30,000 and not even.
That's the watch with the chameleon paint on it?
Yeah.
It kind of changes colors on it.
So,
I saw it online.
A lot of people don't understand I can sell it like in an instant. I can literally post it for 30,000. Someone will pay you like in 5 seconds. You know, and it's the liquidity factor to things as well. Is what I tell people all the time. Is, you know, it's all about liquidity. It's about understanding that, you know, there's ways to park your money to save money, because a lot of people understand as well. Like, you have to preserve your wealth. You get hit with these taxes, and there's tax loopholes like crazy. That's how people, like, if you figure out a way to preserve your wealth, you will actually gain probably an extra $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on top of what you make on a regular salary, because there's ways to do it. You know, so I just think that, you know, unfortunately, our educational system doesn't really teach that. So
they don't teach financial.
it's one of those things that, you know, you kind of have to have good mentors and people that are, you know, good network of people that can teach you to do that. And like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then
Is that what you end up getting out of the course? Was the mentorship?
Yeah. So you know, I've met PJ. I actually just did a deal with him a couple weeks ago, and so with a watch, actually with 2 watches. So, but yeah, I mean, he's a great mentor. He's, you know, if you ever get to meet him, he's a great guy, and he was able to open my mind a little bit on how to think strategically from wealth preservation, wealth transfer, wealth management. And then that opens, and whenever you get into these luxury goods as well, when you sell watches and stuff like that, you get to really meet some really cool people. And so, and they teach you even stuff. So your network grows, and when you surround yourself with these type of people, it's a motivational factor, because, like, you know, you're right there with them. You're seeing the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, you know, the Aston Martins, and then you're seeing how they do their business and how hard they work. Because, like, a lot of people have this misunderstanding, like, because you're rich or whatever, you have a lot of money, they don't work. Like, it takes years to get to where they're at, you know, and there's a lot of sacrifice that happens to it. So you never really want to doubt those people, even if they, you know, they can be sometimes some, you know, not everyone. Some people are cartoon characters or clowns, you know, and they take advantage of people.
Right.
But ultimately, yeah, it's one of those things that luxury goods, especially for watches, for me at least, has been a great way to network, a great way to meet really cool people and learn from them, learn their business, and learn how they think.
Okay, so it sounds like I'm gonna be in contact with you a lot more often, because honestly, it's all I keep a small circle,
For sure.
but my mentality is that I don't want to be the smartest one that's in my group. You know what I mean? I want to be around other individuals who can put me
Yes.
in a place where, and I'm not saying I'm the smartest one in the group. I'm just saying I'm using that as an analogy. That you got jokes. I'm using that as an analogy as far as making sure that I keep a circle. I usually go to events with Jason Talbert, who talks about marketing and growing your network of people. Like if there was an individual that you needed to do something, you have him within your network that you know has this particular type of business that you can go to if you needed that. Once, let's say somebody did want to get some watches or anything like that, I can be like, well, listen, I know Steven, he sells watches. Let me go ahead and point you in his direction. You know what I mean? So it's things like that. But then vice versa, now that you know me, it might be individuals who might want to get on a podcast, start a podcast, figure out how to run a podcast, do a podcast, show themselves. And then you know me and you can point them in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's all good. So, but I'm definitely going to keep you in my back pocket. We've been cool anyway for a long time,
Cool,
right?
yeah.
So, when you came through, you had brought over some of your watches.
Yes.
What kind of watches do we have here?
So I brought in a couple. So I put it out for display, the ones that probably people will recognize just because of the brand. So you have a couple Rolexes here. So from I guess they're left to right, you'll see a Daytona. Then you'll see an Explorer 2, and then you'll see a GMT Master 2, but that's its nickname. All these watches have nicknames for the most part. So this one's called the Root Beer, just because of the color tone of the
It's the color of root
bezel.
beer.
So yeah, it's like a black, kind of like a reddish type, so almost brownish type. So that's the reason why it's called the Root Beer. But yeah, and I got some other ones too. But like again, like for me, I tell people all the time, like, you know, there's a lot of Rolex fanboys out there that just that's all they do is collect Rolexes. I personally don't. I'm not a huge I like to wear Rolex. There's a couple of them that I would wear, like the rose gold types and stuff like that. These are more like, you know, everyday ones for the most part. And so, and I tell people all the time, there's so many other watches out there, so many other good brands too that are great value plays, you know. And so it's just a great way to again be able to park money and enjoy the asset while nothing happens, and then you can literally liquidate it whenever you want and still keep most of the money, or even if you lost a little, it's very little that you're losing, 1 to 2% at best.
So I'm starting to learn just from this small conversation that it's more or less as far as protecting your wealth is what it is.
That's correct. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Enjoying the finer things in life while protecting
While
your wealth.
protecting the wealth.
It's what is it? The Keita, my wife Keita, she enjoys the Dodge Charger, right? And everything revolves around news. So the Dodge Charger just recently specified that they're taking off their Hellcat 6.2 liter Hellcat car. They're going to stop it because the government is saying that it's killing, I guess, the gas, right?
Okay.
But the car, or just to get one of those cars, it's a $60,000 vehicle, right? But just imagine now with that bit of news, now it's become one of those cars where you're not going to be able to get them anymore.
It's scarce. You can't
Right.
find them. Yeah.
Right. So the less there are, the more value that the older cars are going to become.
Yep,
So
exactly.
people are buying the Hellcats as
Like
quickly as they
crazy.
can make
Yeah,
them. So I can understand now. It's like you buying a Hellcat, you're actually parking your money in an investment where, and then just imagine if you have a Hellcat and you only drove it 1,000 miles.
Exactly. And that's the point. Like, you're buying the miles a lot of the times, and when you buy the miles, if you buy it right, you're going to be well set. I mean, imagine you being able to say that you bought a car and you got paid to drive it, because that's what it is. You get paid to drive. Let's say the Hellcat or any other car that, nice luxury or exotic, and you spend 100,000 and then you resell it, in a year for 120, 130,000. Well, you got paid $30,000 in a year's worth of time to drive that car, and that's just insane. Like, that's crazy. But that's what people do financially. Like the financially savvy people, they know how to work the strategy, and they don't let the dealer, the car dealers or the watch dealers or any other mess with you. You know exactly how to get in, how to get out, and protect your money, protect your wealth, and even make money on top of it. While enjoying the asset. That's the most critical thing, because again, you can invest in your conventional assets like stock market, ETFs, all that, but you're not enjoying it. You're just seeing the money grow. And I'm not against it. I'm saying that's a good way to do long-term strategy, right? But I guarantee you, it's much funner to drive again a Ferrari 458 or a Lamborghini, or like a Lamborghini Huracan, or even like the one that I have, which is really more of a luxury, like the BMW i8, for just to enjoy it, and then be able to say that in a year from now you either broke even or even you made a little bit of money. Even if you lose a little bit of money, you got to say that, okay, I lost $2,000 after the resale, but I got to drive $140,000 car for $2,000 in a year's worth of time.
Right. And then you take 2,000 and you divide that by 12.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You paid a little over $6,000-7,000 just driving a regular car.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's the strategy. That's exactly, and the way you just said it is what people need to understand and learn. If you're able to do this, because you can do it with a lot of different cars. I'm not saying you need to go exotic crazy. You can do it with Lexus LC500, for example. There's usually the cars between 50 to 70. I mean, you have the Gran Turismo MC, which is a Maserati. If you buy those right at the right year with the right mileage, you can get out of them really good, really easy. And again, and you won't lose much money, if any. So it's just one of those things that I tell people. I'm like, if you enjoy cars and if you want to drive something cool, you can. And the same thing with watches. You like watches, you can buy a really cool watch and not lose any money on it, or even make money on top of it, and just enjoy the asset. So it's all about enjoying the assets overall. So that's what I tell folks.
Okay. Well, if how would a person such as myself who wanted to get into the business? I'm not a watch person, but of course the luxury can kind of bring you in.
Sure,
what I mean? But if I wanted to get in, how could a person such as myself get involved in a business like this?
Well, I can tell you this. So I'm not gonna try to blow smoke off someone's ass here, but I will say that again, you want to learn this process, go and take the course that I did with Peshman, with PJ, because his courses are great, and again, it teaches you not necessarily about selling watches and cars, but it teaches you about wealth and how to understand creation of wealth, preservation of wealth, transfer of wealth, and stuff like that. And transfer can be another segment, because it's crazy how you can transfer from one thing to another, right? You can transfer wealth from cars to art to watches and so on, and recycle the money, always recycling the money. I mean, there's tax loopholes like crazy that you can take advantage of as well. So I mean, I think ultimately, I would tell people is, and like surround yourself with people. I mean, there's a group here in Jacksonville that we have, I want to say maybe 6 to 10 people or so that are hardcore into the watches like I am. And they might not sell the bigger watches like I do. There's one or two guys that do it like me, like I do, but there's other guys that are buying and selling the 5 to 8 to 10,000, 20,000 other watches. And we're all like friends. Like it's, you would think that it's competition, but it's really not. For us, it's more about like helping each other out. We're not competing for clients or anything like that, because ultimately my clients, at least the way I see it is, I want to just get them what they want, right? And I want to make sure that we're protecting whatever assets they want to protect, however much money they want to protect. And sometimes I get clients like, listen, I just want that watch. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, maybe I know the other dealer here in Jacksonville that has one. I'm like, hey, can you hook me up? I'll give you something on the side or whatever. We'll work something out, So can it be competition? Sure. But ultimately the most important thing is the client, from a customer perspective. Right. And so I think that's where we all kind of work with each other. So, and there's a big car guys here too. I mean, exotic cars are crazy here in Jacksonville. If you go to the Avenues Mall, the second Saturday of every month, they have the cars and Octane. Cars and coffee.
Hey, can you remember I did that comedy show? There's a guy that's off of where I can't think of it, where Nelnet used to be at. But if you go back there, he has a garage. And people pay him to put their exotic cars in this big garage. And he pulls them out. He has old-fashioned cars, new cars. But I did a couple of comedy shows at their spot. And the thing is that everything is roped off, though. You know what I mean? You can't get to them. You can take pictures with them or nothing. But these are some of the most beautiful cars I've seen, like here in Jacksonville. So it's it gets crazy, man. Yeah. So but I'm definitely it's that. I think I'm going to look into at least getting the education and because I'm definitely business oriented and business minded. But as far as having mentorship, that's what I don't have.
Yeah, so I think mentorship is where it comes. Like if we're always inviting people that are always interested in becoming doing this type of business with watches or cars. So there's network here. You just have to I'm always at like that Cars and Octane or Octane and Coffee, I think what it is. I'm always there, like every Saturday, because I'll bring my car out or I'll be with the guys over there, and I introduce a lot of people, just because so that way they get to know these folks, because these folks are multimillionaire people, and once you get to talk to them and really listen to them, what they do and how they think, it's a game changer. I tell people all the time, everyone's always wants to see like the Lamborghini, like the pictures, right? The emotional pictures that everyone gets, like when you see the cars or the watches or the luxury goods and stuff like that. And everyone asks me the same thing, like, hey, how can I get there? I'm like, well, it's networking. It's truly the reality. You surround yourself with these people, they will talk about you and they'll talk to their friends about you. And the next thing you know, you're the guy. Like that's, and I'm somewhat there almost to a certain extent here in Jackson. A lot of people know me as the watch guy because they know, but it took time. I have to get to know these people, and a lot of these guys have become my friends, or really I've been really close with them because I've helped them buy or sell watches. So again, it's all about how good you can network yourself and get in these circles and be able to be and for them to trust you, because there's a level of trust. I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars that they're willing to give you. How it's very hard to ask someone like, hey, give me $70,000 because I'm gonna help you buy a watch. Well, I'm like, who the hell are you?
Right.
Like, how do I I'm about to give you $70K or what the hell, And so, but when you continue developing these relationships, you show up to these events, they see your face all the time. It just helps create that trust factor, So. Like I said, that's my ultimate recommendation to anyone that wants to elevate themselves, is surround the people that are better than you. Because if you surround yourself with people that are better than you, then you're going to strive to be like them.
Right.
And then once you strive yourself to be like them, then you'll get there. It takes time. It takes hard work. Like you need to work at it. Nothing happens overnight. unless you like buy crypto or NFT or something crazy like that, and you just get rich overnight. But even then, those people don't even know how to handle that type of wealth.
Exactly. They don't know how to handle
So
it.
I mean, the same thing happens to athletes, right? You know, athletes sign a 4-year, 5-year, $60-80 million contract. First thing they think is, I want the Lambo and I want the ice-styled watch, right? And so, and if you have a really good team and network around you, they'll know how to buy, where to buy, and who to buy it from, and make sure that they're preserving your wealth. Right, while the other agents that might not necessarily care about you, or the brokers or whatever, they're gonna be like, oh, I don't care about this guy. I just want my money. So they'll go and find whatever Richard Mille out there that they have, or whatever Ferrari or McLaren, whatever they want, and then they'll make their money, and then they'll essentially screw the athlete out of their money, because they don't know. Next thing you know, you're like, oh, you got to pay taxes, brother, on those on all that money that you just signed on your contract, and then you start trying to sell the car or the watch, and then you're figuring out like, oh my God, I lost $50,000 on that watch. Well, because you didn't buy it right. Because again, the guy that was helping you really wasn't helping you. You're just screwing you over, because all he cares about is his money, not yours.
See, and that's good to know. I've seen a lot of the athletes that you speak of say they go and get all that money, and then they end up broke, poor, homeless. I've seen athletes that won championships, but can't keep a roof over their head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you have those who had good people behind them, such as Magic Johnson, who had a mentor who told him to get movie theaters and things like that and look at stocks and stuff. So Magic Johnson is in a good place. The same thing with Shaq. You see Shaq now. Shaq is in a good place. You know what I mean? And that's in today's time. A lot of people don't know about Magic Johnson, but everybody sees Shaq and he on the news. But Shaq is in commercials. Shaq got tennis shoes. Shaq is doing real good for himself, and he's not playing basketball, but he is protecting and maintaining his wealth. So knowing the fact that you can actually do that with luxury goods that you sell, it's another way of thinking that I didn't think of.
It's a very unconventional way of thinking. I think that's the thing. Like, a lot of people are scared. You know, they have this mentality of like, oh,
Of loss.
of loss. Yeah, and it's the fear that drives. And as society, we've been lifted to create that fear, right? Like, if we don't go to college, or if we don't go to school, or if we don't do this, we don't do that, then you're going to be homeless, right? And so that's the fear that gets created. That's how universities and schools make so much money, because of that fear, right? And that fear it comes from our parents, our great grandparents, and it's not their fault. It's just the way it is, right? And so it's hard to break that mold. And when you do, there's a lot of also like pushback. There's a lot of people that give you doubt, and that's why it's so important to surround yourself with those people that have broken that same doubt as well, and have been very successful at it. So, because when I first started this, it was, I had a lot of people, my own family included, that were doubting me.
Let's see.
Yeah, and so and a lot of the times you're like, you know what, like, it is what it is. And I started surrounding myself with other people that were kind of doing the similar stuff, and thankful, and then we motivate each other, like, oh no, even if you took a loss, don't worry about it. Try again, do it again, and it takes practice, and it does. And now it's like, and I do the same thing with the new guys that are coming in. They're scared, and I'm like, you got to pull the trigger. Because like, if the numbers make sense, right? You do everything to the T. What you've learned, you do it everything the way you're supposed to. You write everything down, and everything looks good. The numbers look good, and you have the offer ready, and you're ready to go. The fear kicks in right away. Like, well, damn, like, I'm really gonna pay this X amount of money for this watch or this car or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but the numbers make sense. Trust the numbers, and when you do, 95% of the time, it's gonna work out. You know what I mean? And so, but again, it's all driven by this crazy fear of, that society has created. And it sucks, because ultimately it impedes from a lot of people to really reach their potential, because the fear just kicks in. But you need people to help you get out of that fear. You need to get out of that mentality and understand that there's a level of risk that you have to take in this world in order to be successful. And I'm not saying go out there and, quit your job right away and do that. No, because I learned a lot I'm currently working my 9 to 5. I've learned so much. But at the same time, like, there's this point that you just have to take more calculated risks in order to do what you want in your life. I'd rather, try to take some risks and be able to get out of this 9 to 5 and live my life the way I want to. And when I get kids, I'll have time for the kids and stuff like that. That's exactly what the goal should always be, right? Time is the one thing that you cannot buy.
Right.
Time is the one thing that always escapes, and you'll never get it back. So the longer you wait because of fear, the longer you're losing out.
See, And that is a good way you put it as far as time. I hear a guy, I'm not going to mention his name because of his reputation, but he always says it's always in reference to time and revenue. He's like, if you make enough money, then you free up your time to be able to do the things that you actually want to do. So you work hard in your younger years so you can do what you want to do in your older years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't want to be decrepit and not be able to move or function to be able to enjoy those times. You know what I mean? So
For sure.
yeah, you know, well, as far as the community that we're in, there really is no generational wealth that comes along with it.
Right.
So you don't know what's going to be handed on to you. You know, when it comes to people passing away, all you're doing is making fish plates, and hopefully you go through a GoFundMe and try to get some help to bury your loved ones and stuff like that, and that's sad.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I know, as far as this particular household right here, we are the ones that have to kind of break that mold. You know what I mean? Because I don't see anything coming from, you know, us working in the life insurance area. You know what I mean? You know, you see so much that goes on just within life insurance that it's like, yo, if we just know, okay, at the end of the day, just buy yourself some life insurance, and you buy enough life insurance, you'll get your people will be set.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even if you don't see it, care enough for your loved ones or your loved ones ahead of that to be able to at least purchase enough life insurance to be able to, so that way they can go ahead and learn and take care of themselves. What Jarrell said? Jarrell said, fear is the thing that keeps us captive, yet no one ever has seen fear.
Yes.
You're absolutely
I
right.
agree that. Yeah.
And Jarrell, she got me in contact with a guy named Terrell. I think that's her nephew, I think, and he does the commercial property view. He's like a realtor. He a realtor, a realtor that he's been helping me go through the city of Jacksonville looking for a building to put the comedy club at.
Right.
So he's been doing an exceptional job, but he got me in contact with another individual. So we working on some things that I'm going to be bringing big to the city as well. So I'm going to be with y'all group eventually. One way or somehow I'm going to be in the mix with y'all one of these days.
No, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I know a ton of people that would love to, you know, go out. Like it's like I tell people all the time now, like I know a lot of people that, you know, if I give a phone call, I'm like, hey, I need a favor. Like, hey, I need your car out there. I need your Lamborghini Murcielago, or I need your F1 car, or I need your Aventador. You know, hey, can we go to this event together and then put your cars in the front as like a statement? Like if you open your big building with the comedy show, we can have all the exotic cars in the front, and everyone's coming, right? So again, it's all about understanding like marketing and stuff like that. It's a great way to market. I tell people all the time. You know, it's easy whenever you buy or whenever you show up in these nice cars, or you have these nice watches, there's a level of trust that you automatically get, because they're like, wow, this guy is doing something to be able to afford these things.
Right.
So I can trust him, right? So that's kind of the idea behind it. Now it's like I tell when people start, I tell folks, I'm like, listen, like your buyer pool is going to be a little bit different than mine, because, you know, I'm driving a little bit much more nicer car, but it's not to say that you're not going to get there. You know, eventually you will. It's just that your buyer pool is going to be a little bit different, and then there's a level of trust that you're going to have to continue to work on with these people. But ultimately, everyone gets there. You know, everyone that I know that has started with this type of investments or started this type of business has gone to a level of like that they drive the nice cars, they have the nice cars, or they drive the nice cars, they have the nice watches, and they got to meet really cool people. So.
Okay, well, I'm definitely ecstatic. I'm enjoying this conversation a lot, because when it comes to speaking about money and how money works, because it's more than just the watch. It's more than just the exotic car. It's about where you can place your money at and it be put somewhere comfortably, but it's not at the bank. And chances are you'll be able to get more of a higher percentage on your return, depending on what you get.
Absolutely. Like I tell people, like I have my company, you know, the Watch Trader company is a sub company of my big one, which is VIP Investments and Wealth Management. And what I do with that branch of my business is that I take investor money and then I invest it for them with hard assets like watches, some pieces of art here and there, and things of that nature. So when I do that, I guarantee, like on my contract, I can show it to you, I guarantee a 10% return at the end of the year. So and no one can do that. The S&P cannot guarantee, like S&P 500, which is the most stable, usually the most safest way to invest in a stock market. they don't even guarantee it. It's so volatile that it's like anywhere between you can get 6% 1 year, 8%. You know, even in COVID times, it went up to like 31%, which is crazy. I was like, oh my god, it was crazy to get 31% of S&P during COVID time, when COVID first came out. But again, those are like outliers. But consistently, you know, the S&P is 8 to 12%, right? And if I can guarantee you 10% with no volatility, for a lot of investors, that's great because that's like a really safe investment that they know that they'll always get.
Right.
So I think ultimately, you know, again, not saying to get rid of on your investment portfolio to get rid of all your stocks and stuff like that. I'm just saying is maybe add certain things of the luxury goods into your investment portfolio because it does work. It will work. And as long as you have the right people and the right connections and that are buying for you, or because it doesn't have to be me. There's plenty of people out there that know how to do this. So if you get the right contact and they're able to help you out with it, then it'll be part of your portfolio and it's something that you can enjoy and wear it. You know?
So how does a person once they purchase the actual asset, how do they get it liquidated? Is there a specific? Because you have to know people that'll be willing to purchase or want that specific type of watch.
Yeah. So as far as like people that first get into it, watches and stuff like that, you know, there's groups out there on Facebook and Instagram that really you can liquidate a watch like that. It's buy, sell, and trades and stuff like that through those Facebook groups. Wow. And then so it's crazy. Yeah, I never even thought about it. But there's like a group. I'm not gonna say the name just because I don't know if they want me to or not. But there's a group out there that I think has like 20 or 30,000 members, and literally, I mean, they sell 200, 300, $400,000 watches on there. No joke. Like they buy it on Facebook. And so, yeah, I know it's like a whole different world when you get into
it. Kind of opens up your eyes to what Facebook possibilities can be.
Facebook. You know? There's another group that does exotic cars. They sell $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 cars on Facebook. Now, I'm not saying that the purchase is done there, but they'll contact them and then the purchase gets done at the dealer or whatever. But ultimately, same thing. So there's a ton of groups out there on social media that buy, sell, and trade watches. So you can if you're getting serious into this business, I have a whole network of wholesalers. So like I can liquidate these 3 Rolexes by just calling 1 or 2 people or messaging them on Facebook like, hey, I got this, and I'll give them at a price that they won't be able to refuse, right? If I needed to liquidate quickly, right. I don't care if I'm losing $1,000, $2,000 per watch, whatever. I need the money,
right? The bulk portion of it.
So again, it's when you're in this business, it's good to have that type of relationship because I know wholesalers, I know dealers, like true dealers at boutiques and stuff like that. So that'll get me watches as well and things of that nature. So it's one of those things that once you get into this world, it's good to have that network of wholesalers, the network of dealers, and or just people that have money. Honestly, like there's a guy that I know that if I ever needed to drop all my watches, I could sell it to him. Like literally, because he collects crazy stuff. So I just know that I'll give him a call. I give him a really, really good price. He'll take it right away. So it's now for people that are first starting. Again, these Facebook groups are great. Still, now there's Facebook groups that buy these watches at $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 watches, and you can liquidate them fast. If people don't understand, I'm gonna give you some insight on something.
Yeah, so share with me because I'm all ears.
So check this out. Okay. And it's legal, right? Okay. This is legal. I'm not saying it's illegal or not. This is kind of a loophole. Okay. So let's say that I want to buy a property in Canada. Right? I have family in Canada. I want to buy a property in Canada, but I don't want to transfer, let's say $200,000 from here to Canada because I have to pay X amount of fees and stuff like that. There's customs that I have to deal with. I can't grab $200,000 cash from U.S. and go on an airplane and travel to Canada. They're gonna like ask a bunch of questions,
they're gonna flag
and then I'm gonna have to pay a certain amount of fees for it.
Right.
Well, what if I buy a $200,000 watch, and then I just travel to Canada?
Shut the front door.
And then I sell the watch over there to a dealer because I already know a dealer over there that will pay me $200 because he can upsell it to $250 or whatever. And then I get the $200K cash in Canadian dollars, and then I pay my property. See, the transfer of wealth it's like a currency. It's like currency. So watches is like currency. It's crazy.
That's like a person buying let's say a $20,000 diamond ring for whatever. but they're gonna go to Canada and do. Well, it makes sense. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
You
so-
you blew my mind there.
Yeah,
You
so I'm
it's
sure,
like,
it's crazy because like you will never find a jeweler that's poor. Like if you go to any jeweler, I don't care where they're at, where they're located, you'll never find a poor jeweler because they're like banks. They know exactly what to do, how to do it. There's even more like strategies that they use that, again, it's not illegal, but it's frowned upon in a sense, but it's not illegal, so they still do it. You know, so there's just so many strategies out there that people don't really know about luxury goods in general. You can do the same thing with like, again, Louis Vuitton. Like you can go to Europe, buy Chanel bags, bring them here, and then upsell them. You know, I mean, I know a lot of people that do that, and so it's just one of those things that, again, you know, now you can't buy them in bulk because then questions start asking.
Right.
But ultimately, like I know people that, you know, have family members in Russia or in Bosnia or stuff like that, and they bring their family, and each person gets a watch. So they buy the watch over there for really, really good price, and then each family member gets the watch to wear the watch, and then they bring it here to the United States, and guess what? They didn't have to pay import fees, custom fees, VAT, nothing. So then they get to sell the watch for pure profit here.
see, that's So let me ask you a question, right? And this is not pertaining to the watches at all. This is pertaining to because when I first met you, it was in like it had to have been like was it 2009, 2010, right? No, it was at Allstate, right? So it was at Allstate,
Allstate, yeah.
right? And so at what point did you start this process?
Summer of 2020 is when I bought the courses that I was telling you about from my mentor.
Well, you was already out of the. You was already out of the. You was in the
I was in another department.
Right,
yeah,
you
I
was in another department. Okay,
Yeah,
left that.
just because again, I was looking for some sort of side business at the time, and I was looking for buy an exotic car at the time, and then you know the watches. My first ever watch that I bought, actually, the first two watches because I bought them at the same time, was November. It was right around Thanksgiving time that I made the purchase, and so and that's because I had finished the courses from my mentor and stuff like that that I had seen and done, and I just felt confident enough to do it. So that November of 2020 is truly when like my quote unquote watch journey started, and then I did it part time in 2021. Because again, there's still a level of doubt, right? There's a level like, oh, let me see how it still works. Like, yeah, I made like 1,500 here, but you know, then I lost like 300 here. But the more you do it, the more I got better at it. The more you know, because there's negotiations and stuff like that you have to learn how to do. And so, and I got better at negotiating, got better at finding the good deals and stuff like that. So, and the next thing you know, without saying exactly how much I made and stuff like that, but let's just put it this way: like in the first 3 months, because I put last year in December. Told myself, I'm like, I'm gonna dedicate a good chunk of time on this. Like, I want to be the best in Jacksonville. Like, that's like my goal. I was like, I'm gonna be the best watch dealer, watch trader, whatever you want to call it, in Jacksonville. And so, and I told myself, I'm gonna make $100K in this year off of just watches, right? And I have already made in the first 3 months of this year what I made all of last year. So
But I just let you know that your journey as far as educating yourself and getting better kind of like doubled over like 3 times.
Exactly. And that's only because I continued doing it. Even if there was doubt, even if people were doubting me, like it didn't matter. Like I just ignored it, and I was like, I'm gonna continue doing it. And then next thing you know, and then I started growing my network a little bit after I've been like mid 2021. I started meeting more people that do watches, and then we got together, and that helped just continue the growth, continue not letting that fear set in, because I still get fear. I still get every once in a while. I'm like, fuck, like I just bought a $70,000-$80,000 watch. Like, holy crap, like what the hell? And then next thing you know, but then like I sell it for 95, and I'm like, okay, I made 25K, great, you know. But then sometimes you're like, you know, you're waiting because there's like trajectories and stuff like that we do, and it's like, wait a second, like, is it really gonna go up? Do I need to sell it? And the panic starts kind of kicking in, but then you just kind of like remember, like again, you have to kind of bring yourself back, because it happens to all of us, even to the best of us. You know, the people that have been doing this for years and years and years. The fear is always there. It's always going to circulate. It's just how you manage the fear and how you're able to overcome it. You know. So.
Okay, that's a good lesson learned. I know because I had what is it? The fear of, because when it comes to the comedy club, and my goal as far as the changing from getting a building into the large purchase of a strip mall with multiple businesses in it, the fear automatically kicked in as soon as I started thinking about it, and that's when I was like, well, you know what, this is something that we I feel is the best course of action. With my wife, who's also has her business, my daughter, she has her business. I do comedy. I have the podcasting business. All of that all coincide with one another. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the fact that fear creeps in, and I haven't even done anything yet.
Exactly.
I can just imagine how, if you're in it,
Yeah, when you're in it, yes.
right, how that fear can kind of be like right there on your back, and you like gotta kind of knock it off you. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
You have to. You have to. And it's crazy because I get it. Like I said, I get it. Not all the time, but at times I do. And it's like, and it tries to put you down a little bit. You're like, am I really doing the right thing or whatever? And it just the guessing. You start second guessing yourself and stuff like that. But then you just kind of like come back to your roots and like, I've been doing this for a while. It's been successful. I've bought these watches before at this level of price. It's gonna work. And you just trust your instinct. You gotta trust your gut. You know, you gotta trust yourself that you're doing the right thing. You've done all your calculations. You've done all the math, the numbers, and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, and again, that goes with everything in life. I tell people, you know, whatever you want to do, you know, just be the best at it. If you be the best at it, the fear is not gonna slow you down at all because you're the best at it. You know exactly the ins and outs of whatever business you're in. You know, a lot of people when they see the cars and stuff like the gas station, for example, you know, they'll ask, you know, what do you? Oh, I'm gonna get that car in a year. Next year, I'm gonna get that car. I promise you, bro, or something like that. But they don't understand like the hard work that comes behind it.
Right.
Like, no, you're not gonna get that car in a year because you're not the best at. You can't be the best at something in a year.
Right. You can't.
So you can't. It takes years of work to be the best at something. So become the best at whatever you want, whatever you're passionate about, and whatever you're good at. If you combine those two things together, whatever skills you have, plus whatever you're passionate about, figure out a way to mix those together, and you're gonna create, and you're gonna be the best at it. You're gonna be I had a guy that I knew that loved to cook. He's like, and he was a really good cook. He was a great chef, but he never went to culinary school or anything like that. But he was a graphic designer. He hated doing that, the graphic designing and stuff like that. But he knew how to do the editing of the videos. He knew how to do some crazy stuff. And I told him, like, you know what, you should just create your own classes. Like, do like your own classes of videos for like cooking and stuff because you really love it. And he did it. He was like, he listened to me, and he ended up doing some of those courses. And next thing you know, he monetized it. He made a lot of money, and now he's a private chef. So, you know, it's one of those things that he was able to make the money enough to get out of his 9 to 5 and then be able to pursue, because he was able to combine both his skill and with his passion together to make the best product. Because people think, oh, everything in this world is freaking like, what's the word for it? Like everyone's doing it. Like, you know what I mean? Like if there's a bunch of,
been done before.
it's been done before, or like there's so much competition for it. It's saturated. That was the word.
Okay.
It's saturated. Every business is saturated. But who cares if the business is saturated? Like what you should care is, how can I beat my competition? How can I be the best chef or the best graphic designer or the best watch dealer, whatever you want to be. If you figure that out, then you have the edge. Who cares if the market saturated? I mean, you think there's so many realtors here in Jacksonville, it's ridiculous, right? But I know like a couple of them that make a ton of money, but that's because they know they're the best at it. They know, like, they've marketed themselves. They really know the ins and outs of real estate and stuff like that. So, you know, again, don't let that discourage you, because that's one of the first things that people say. Oh, but that market is very saturated. Like, who cares?
Right.
You know, so what? If you have the best, if you know that you can be the best at it, then do it.
Right. And then a lot of people got to understand that you have to do something. I tell everybody all the time, and listen, if you can find something that you like to do and you'll be willing to do it for free, you know what I mean? That will be what your passion is. You know what I mean? And then you'll be able to find a way to monetize what you like to do for free.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's all you have to do. And next thing you know, you're doing what you love every day, don't mind getting up, and you're being paid to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So at the end of the day, you got to work on it, you know? Yeah. Well, Steven, I definitely want to thank you, man, for coming through. I know this is probably I'm gonna make a part 2. I'm gonna have you come back through again because this is definitely a conversation that I enjoyed. So before we end the show, how can a person get in contact with you? What's your contact, social media, anything like that? How can they find you if a person wants to purchase a watch or at least get some information from you? Because people always want to talk to a multimillionaire.
Well, I'm not a multimillionaire yet,
No.
but
But listen, dog, I'm speaking it over you now. So listen, this is my millionaire friend, Steven
We'll get
Monzon. How
there,
can
we'll
they
get
get in
there.
contact with you, man?
Best way is really my Instagram page. So I have at the Watch Trader Company. That's like really the best way to get with me. I'm always checking my messages there and stuff like that. But otherwise, like I still have, I think, a little bit of room on my Facebook profile to add people. So if you guys find me on Facebook, just feel free to add me. I'm always I'm doing messages and stuff like that through there because I do business through Facebook as well at times. And my website will be up hopefully in a week or 2. But it won't be called the Watch Trader Company. It'll be the actual umbrella, which is the VIP Investments and Wealth Management. But that'll contain a lot of like the information that I talked about, more about the investment portion, right, or the wealth transfer type of information, or even not wealth transfer, but more along the lines of like what we talked about, how to change your mentality from that conventional mentality of understanding, I'm going to walk in and lose 30-40% of my purchase and then flip it to I'm going to make 5% or 10% by driving this car or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just more about mentality changing. But yeah, that's going to be my website in about a week or 2, hopefully. So
Okay. Well, as soon as you get the information and your website is up, I'll make sure I post it on the page. That's what I try to do. So to make sure that I always continue to support the individuals who also support the In the Community show. So I definitely want to congratulate you on your future endeavors. If once I get into that position to be able to purchase a watch, my first watch is going to come through you.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not dealing with nobody else. I don't care what you say, guys. Listen, it does not matter because I'm a comedian, and
Right.
comedians get found all the time, and I'm doing other things as well. So I'm gonna be making that multi-million day when I get my first. What's a good watch that's not a Rolex?
A good starter watch that I recommend to everyone is like an Omega or
I
a
like
Panerai.
Omega. I like Omega. Just the way the word
The way
sounds.
the word sounds, yeah. Yeah, Omega, Panerai, those are really good. Or even Hublot. Yeah, they're really good starter watches. And they're watches that won't, if you buy them right, you won't lose any money on. So
Okay, so I'm gonna give me an Omega. I already got it down. I like the word Omega. Plus the insignia for Omega is tight. I like that because of the
yeah,
you know, anyway,
yeah.
So I definitely want to thank you for coming through, ladies and gentlemen. Please, when you see the show, please like, comment, share. Let the people know what's going on within your own community, because we do have things going on within the community. And if you have purchases that you want to make, we have individuals selling particular items that might suit your needs, that you might like, such as my brother Steven Monzon, who is selling outstanding luxury watches that you can purchase now and make money on it later. That's the way it sounds like. You know what I'm saying? Think and change your mentality. What did she say? Jarrell said, I want that label, multimillionaire too. So speak that. Oh, yes, Jarrell. I already speak multimillionaire over you. She's in a movie that we're doing,
okay.
that we're filming. It's not a movie, it's a TV show that we're filming. It should be releasing soon. You know what I mean?
Cool.
But just remember, guys, thank you all for tuning in to Jacksonville's #1 live comedy podcast. But this one is In the Community. Thank you all for tuning in, and you all have yourself a good evening. Thank y'all.
So I'm